Is Russ going to join us tonight?
I would imagine. Unless you wore him out skiing.
Yeah, well, I haven't been in a few days.
Is it any good?
I don't know. Well, they're making snow like crazy right now. The rain last weekend didn't help any.
No, I don't imagine. I used to have a season pass all the time. I was on the executive board of the Gunstock Ski Club. And, you know, we're running all the races and stuff over there. I think the main reason that they got me in was because I was the only person that worked for themselves. And when we rebuilt the ski club building, they needed somebody on hand.
I don't hear anybody from the meeting room.
No. I can't really.
Says they're trying to connect to audio. We don't.
Well, how is it that you and I can talk?
It says unmute up there.
Ah,
No, we can hear you.
It runs off that line.
Can you hear us?
Yep.
we can now.
All right.
Somebody
Getting
did
feedback.
some magic. And here comes.
Oh, that laptop, I think we're getting feedback from that laptop.
Hello.
We see you.
That's a good start.
Well, it's a start.
I think you gotta mute the laptop.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Are
you there?
Can you hear us?
They can't hear.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
All right, good. Good. We took care of it. We were having some feedback on our end.
Yeah, we got it now. No.
Thank you.
All right, let's get this show on the road. So, starting with the preamble. As chair of the Alton Planning Board, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically, and these reasons shall be reflected in the minutes. The town of Alton has moved from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings until further notice. Therefore, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. We strongly encourage everyone attend our meetings remotely. Should you have a need to attend in person, we will make a remote location available upon a reservation request by you to this office, no later than 2 business days in advance of the meeting date. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone. Members of the public wishing to attend this meeting electronically may call the conference call number from home. Follow the instructions listed under news and announcements on the town's website, www.alton.nh.gov. B, providing additional public access by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through the link that is listed under news and announcements under the town's website. C, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to abutters and the public of how to access the meeting via telephone conference and by using Zoom. D, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting that a member of the public wishes to speak or be recognized during public input at a public hearing. If you are calling in by conference call, press the star sign and then the number 9 to raise your hand to request to speak to the board. If you are using a computer, use the raise hand button to request to speak to the board. Several members of the public may be conferenced in, and requests to speak will be handled sequentially, one at a time. The Zoom moderator will allow you to speak when the board opens public input. E, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting, please call 603-507-1002. F, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting remotely or there are difficulties with the town's equipment, the following will take place. 1, for applications, the meetings will be adjourned and rescheduled to Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. And 2, for the 2021 proposed zoning amendments second public hearing, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled to Thursday, January 21st, both meetings starting at 6 p.m. at the Alton Town Hall. You may call the planning department at 603-875-2162 between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday for more information and for the dial-in code and meeting ID for each planning board meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call, and we'll start the meeting by taking a roll call of attendance, when each member states their presence when you're remote. Also, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is also required under the Right to Know law. So with that, let's take a roll call.
Can you just read this,
Oh, I have to
the
read
top
this.
section of the public hearing notice? Just read that out to the record, please.
Oh, reading into the record. So notice is hereby given that the Alton Planning Board will hold a second public hearing on Tuesday, January 19th, starting at 6 p.m. in the Alton Town Hall, Alton, New Hampshire, to consider changes by the Planning Board resulting from the first public hearing on December 15th, 2020, to the proposed amendments to the Alton zoning ordinance for 2021 ballot vote. As follows. I don't have to do the as follows part, do I?
That's it.
Yeah, we'll cover that.
Thank you. Now you can do roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote now. Roger?
Roger, here. Scott Williams here. Bill O'Neill here.
Drew Carter here, and on TV?
Tom Hoops here, all alone.
Yeah,
Bob Reagan here, all alone.
Russ Wilder, all alone.
Right. So we also have John Dever is here.
John Dever, code official.
And
Jessica Call, town planner.
and
Amelia Kate.
and Lee Hillsborough. All right. There, got everybody in the room present. So call this meeting to order at, I don't know, bless you, at looks like 6:06. We don't need to assign an alternate right at the moment. The agenda, any changes to the published?
There are many.
Many changes to the published agenda.
Nothing on page 1. On page 2, under other business, old business A, it's just a reminder that Tom Hoops and Scott Williams are up for reelection, and to make sure you guys get in the town clerk's office.
That opens tomorrow, right?
Yes, yep, ends on January 29th. New business, number 2A, I just added a copy of the petition to create a warrant article regarding master plan update. Number 4, under correspondence to the board's review, discussion action, I added B, which is an application that was submitted from Paul Zuzgo, and he's interested in becoming the citizen member for our alternative housing committee. C, I added for the chairman to sign a release and termination of covenants restricting a building permit regarding case number P-1504, which is a subdivision for Walter Dwayne Thomas, and I'm going to butcher this Foreman's first name, Hannon Thomas. It's just a release that Drew is going to need to sign. And under number 5, which is just correspondence with the board's information, I added in another construction report under C, which was December 1st, and I inadvertently named it as Ingalls Trust, which is Ralph Trust LLC. And I have one addition, which is just a memo that I gave everybody, and it just updates you on the activities that have taken place in the subdivision since Mr. Williams received approval from the board back in January.
Can I get a motion to accept the amended agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as
amended.
Modified, as presented.
All right, that was Russ, okay. You second? Tom,
I'll
are you
second
seconding? All right.
Boy, Tom.
All right, take a vote on that, I guess, huh? Roger?
Roger, aye.
Scott?
Aye. Scott Williams, aye. I'm sorry. I'm reading along here.
Drew Carter, aye.
Tom Hoops, aye.
Bob Reagan, aye.
Russ Wilder, aye.
All right. All right, so first on the agenda is second and final public hearing of the zoning amendments for 2021.
Yep, you should have this procedure.
Yeah, okay, so we've got to read the public hearing notice.
Yep, we already did that.
We did that, all right. At the board's meeting on December 15th, we had one substantive change proposed with amendment number 4 to remove the language that's suggested by town council regarding amusement use outdoor. Outdoor activities do not require large areas to accommodate uses, but do require more intense development of the site. Okay, so do we have a copy of that? That was in here, right?
Yep.
It was attached to it. Attached to it. Wow.
They hide them in the
Really-
dangerous places.
Yeah. So the big change was that, that deletion of that last sentence, really, was,
Right.
that was the big change.
And also correction under residential, it went from E to N.
Right,
Yep,
not
the
allowed.
original.
Yeah.
All right, so does the board have thoughts on this?
That was our thoughts, wasn't it?
That was our thoughts. I think we need to vote on it.
I have no problem with it. I would recommend we approve it and send it forward to the town, to the warrants.
All right, Tom Hoop says move it forward. We have a second from Virgil. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Roger says aye.
Scott Williams, aye.
Drew Carter, aye.
Tom Hoops, aye.
Bob Reagan, aye.
Russ Wilder, aye.
So it goes. All right. Next on the agenda, design review, case P21-01.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a family relationship with the applicants here, and I've given a lot of thought to it, and I believe that it's appropriate that I recuse myself.
Okay. And Virgil, you also will recuse yourself?
Be one in the audience.
Okay.
And can you just hold on one second? I gotta just, oh, he needs to turn the camera on. He just needs to open the shutter. Okay. Over at the.
Oh, give him the museum.
Oh, Drew,
Yes.
is it appropriate to replace one of these people with one of our alternates?
You can.
Yeah?
Absolutely. I was gonna make that move next, so thank
Okay,
you. So
sorry.
he's an alternate. Yep.
Lee's in training.
Oh. I'm training.
Okay, yep.
If you guys can turn the camera on over at the museum, please.
Are they in two different
Camera over
places?
at the museum is not working for some reason.
Something's happening.
There's a shutter switch on the camera.
Move it to the right, I think.
And where exactly would that be?
On the actual laptop,
It's on the laptop.
but there's no other camera. The one that's.
I keep getting tiles.
Well, I'm trying to have
Yeah.
that camera connect. Yes, there's an actual camera connected to the computer.
Yes.
Yeah, Ian, I just realized that.
Yep.
Try turning, is there a power button?
There's one. There's one. We got one.
I haven't been out. I don't know how to help him with that.
There isn't anything.
Can you hear,
Yes. Brad, I can hear you.
Hey, Ian, why don't you call Josh?
Alrighty.
I don't know what we're supposed to be doing.
You can see how fast you can run across the street, John.
You can't get.
You can run across the street.
See how fast you I think Allison's about to come to.
Jim, is Ally with you?
Can you folks hear us?
Because we have a separate tile server, that's why.
Some major feedback on it.
Jim, try talking again. Jim, can you hear us? You can't hear us.
I believe they were calling in from a.
So then
from the phone.
he's got volume on or something on his computer. I think that's the problem.
You're talking to somebody, but it ain't.
I've got a phone coming in too.
Yeah, because it says on the bottom, Alley Brown on the bottom, it shows like a phone, not quite as big. Jim, we got his picture.
There, we should be able to hear.
I can hear Jim from here.
You can hear Jim?
Yep.
Well,
Can he hear us?
Jim, can you hear us?
yeah, you gotta turn
Okay,
your,
Tom?
you gotta turn your mic on, Jim.
Your mic is shut off.
There's no other setting.
Tom's our IT guy, so he'll tell you what to do.
Hey, Scott, I got a new phone.
You did.
A camera on the bottom.
Flip phone.
It still has it's a flip, but it's a rotary one.
Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
All right, turned on.
Yeah, you got something going on.
We hear them.
That sounds like Paul.
There it is.
Okay, we're there.
Yeah.
Okay, museum on.
They're going around in circles.
So is that just Paul at the music?
Oh, turn it.
Alley at the Paul?
Turn it
This way.
There's Paul.
There's Paul.
Okay, get Paul in there.
There you
Yep,
go.
right there. Get Paul in more. Yep.
That's Tom.
Right there.
Now you need to X out of that so I can see everybody
All
else.
right, so Tom,
All right.
Tom, can Jim hear us?
Not that I think, can you hear me, Jim?
I can hear you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, good, now we can hear
Can you hear him? I can hear him.
him. Yeah, we hear
We can
him.
hear him now.
Yay.
I think we're all here.
Can we hear everybody?
No, we're
Can
Brad.
everybody hear us? No.
Can you hear me now?
Anybody over there with her, like Ally, or are we all?
Who, Kim?
Yeah, we can.
That's,
But I don't know if
that's a butter. That's her sister, that's her.
but I'll promote her when that's time.
When it's public input.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify, because we kind of got derailed here, but Bill O'Neill is going to be sitting in as alternate. So I think what I'd like to do is have Jessica lead us off here.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to go over a few things.
Well, don't we need to see if the thing is complete before we do anything? And don't we have to do the waivers before we can even see if it's complete?
Yeah, so let me just read through this, and then we can go through the application.
So there's a little background I think that needs to be laid out, and then we can tackle those.
All right, so Mr. and Mrs. Brown first came before the board in November of 2019 for a conceptual consultation for their subdivision. And the board told them that the town needs to look further into their proposal in order to assist them better. Numerous conversations took place with the Highway Department, code official, and with town council during the beginning months of 2020. At this point, Mr. and Mrs. Brown were told which application to submit, and they ultimately submitted the wrong application. And in fact, they submitted another wrong application later on in the year. The planning board even had a special workshop that included the code official, highway department, and town council to make clear to everyone exactly how the subdivision process took place, if and when a variance may be needed, and to discuss how one would ask for a waiver of the highway policies and regulations. A couple of days later, after that workshop, I met with Mrs. Brown and Mr. Moore Sr. to confirm how she should move forward. Finally, in November of 2020, the proper application was submitted with numerous waivers. Again, conversations with town council took place, and it was determined that Mr. and Mrs. Brown should go before the selectmen first to inquire whether they would waive not having to pave their road before coming to the board for subdivision approval. This took place a couple of weeks ago, and they were actually granted their request from the selectmen to not have to pave their road. The day after they received their approval from the selectmen, Mrs. Brown came into the office with another waiver, and after a short discussion, it was divulged by her that the road was already built with the assistance of the highway department head. Mr. and Mrs. Brown testified before the selectmen that they had emails from the highway, police, and fire departments regarding their reviews of the road. I asked Mrs. Brown for copies of them, and to date, I have not received them. Per statute and the board's regulations, both prohibit any development of a site that is in the process of receiving approval from the board. Throughout the conversations that have been had with many departments in town, the planning department, and with town council, and throughout all of the meetings that we've had with the board, Mr. and Mrs. Brown were building the road this whole time without a road plan, without proper subdivision approval from the board, and without any observations from a town engineer. Also, this whole time, Mr. and Mrs. Brown haven't been charged for any of the applications that they've been submitted up until today's application, because we were trying to be patient with them and anticipating them submitting the proper application to get them on the right track. And we didn't feel it was right to keep cashing all their checks. So we're not here to just take people's money. We're actually, we're here to assist property owners in accordance with the board's regulations. I've been repeatedly told that I just want to do the right thing, and I'm not trying to make your job harder. But in all reality, the only word that comes to mind right now is sandbagged. Mr. and Mrs. Brown repeatedly did not listen to the advice from the planning office, the direction from the planning board, or even their own surveyor. It's not fair to the town or to any potential future applicants that they went ahead and built the road without approval, nor does it show any respect towards the board or anyone else involved. So that's my 2 cents of the recap of what's been going on. Now, in this design review, lots of things were not submitted, and they've submitted quite an extensive list of waivers. And going through these waivers, it's very conflicting with what they've indicated on the checklist that they've actually provided. So I'm really confused as to exactly what the waivers are, so I'm having a hard time helping you figure out what exactly the waivers are for you to waive. So that needs to be clarified.
Okay, so with the history laid out there, I think that, our proper procedure would be to make sure that this package is complete.
Right, which technically it's a design review, so it's not up for completeness. That happens at the final application.
Right.
So we'll review the waivers as best as we can understand them.
Right.
And perhaps they can help walk us through, obviously we're not here to shut it down. We're here to try and figure it out.
Right, it was just confusing, and I was having a hard time going with it because they were very conflicting.
So I don't know if the selectmen were aware at the time that they granted their waiver that the road had actually already been constructed. I suspect they probably were not aware of that.
You need to either step away from the table or absolutely say nothing because you're not a part of this discussion.
Right.
Out of the public.
Mr. Chairman, I think it inappropriate that Mr. McDonald continues to sit at the table, giving the appearance of a member and participating.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, Virgil.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll wait for public input.
But there were a number of other waivers, and I read through, and I too was having a difficult time following. I know you were cross-referencing to the checklist, but I was just simply looking at the waivers themselves. I think for the purpose of moving things along as best as we can here, and unless the board feels otherwise, I think I'd like to at least go through these waivers and one at a time and make a kind of a understanding of what they're asking for and.
Not committed.
Huh?
We have to be non-committal at this point.
Yeah, but we're giving a feel for, so.
If I can just try to help get through this process and make it a little simpler, and I'll show you what my confusion was. So I'm referring to this waiver list that is from Prospect Mountain Survey. It's two-page typed up list. Says waiver request. It's a two-page waiver request.
Okay. There's a package.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's page 1 of 3 because the third page is.
Pages. So pages 1 and 2. Okay. So when I was going through this waiver list, I was on page 1, and a lot of these sections refer to section 7, B8, so on, B8A, B8A number 6. So they all indicate B8. when you go to the second page, way at the top, some numbers were crossed off. It was rewritten that they want to waive B8 through B16. So that's conflicting with page 1, because all those waivers on page 1 include B8.
Well, I missed that. She didn't explain it to me.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you look, so when I get an application, I look at this checklist. And I go through every single thing to make sure all of the documents are submitted. If they've submitted a waiver request for a particular item or for a particular thing that's supposed to be indicated on a plan. And when I went through the checklist, a lot of these items that they're asking waivers for have been provided either in a document or they're indicated on a plan. So that's why there's a couple things conflicting. And I'm just not sure, I wasn't sure how to move forward.
Well, we just attack the waivers. If we come, just the first waiver and it's on the plan, then bingo. They don't even need the waiver. It's simple. And you just go through the waivers. But before we get too far, I just had one question. Is this a map of what they want to do?
Yes.
This is the,
That's the plan.
that's the plan. So their lot is off of Moore Farm Lane?
Correct.
Isn't that the road?
Yes.
So what's all this talk about a road if the road's already there?
It is not a road to town standards.
That road has only been approved by the planning board up till station 4.20, which is only a portion of Kim's property that it only goes up so far. And if you're to the right of Moore Farm Lane, it's pretty much that goes up to the driveway that heads to the farmhouse. So that's the only section of Moore Farm Lane that has been ever approved or presented in front of a planning board, which is back in like 86 or something. So that whole section, that rest of it is it's just a dirt road. It's not up to any standards of the town. And that's the problem, because subdividing needs to happen on a class 5, or if you don't have that on a class 5, you need to build your road up to a class 5 standard. Town standard.
Just a clarification there. We don't have class 5 standards. We have town highway standards. Class 5
Correct.
just simply means that the town maintains the road.
Thank you.
There you go, yes.
Now, this may be unorthodox, but, I'm not 100% clear on all the proper procedures, but does it make sense at this point to have Paul maybe walk us through his intention with this document that he submitted
Yeah.
for the waivers?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
So, Paul, if you don't mind, I mean, can you answer maybe the first question, which is on the second page, you've asked for waivers for all of B8 through, B8 through B16, I guess?
That from the design review checklist?
So this
Yes.
is the,
Yeah, this is the document that you
So that
had
document,
submitted.
that document, that waiver request was originally for the major subdivision. That's where all those numbers come from. Then they were crossed out to reflect numbers to the design review application.
so just to be clear, what's written in blue ink
Supposed to reflect the design review checklist.
for design review. Okay.
Well, I wonder if the most important waiver to look at is the one that changes it from a major to a minor.
Well, that was a waiver that was kind of asked for from Jessica. Because I'm really not sure why.
I didn't ask them that one, just to clarify that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jessica, what was that?
I didn't ask them to put in this waiver.
Probably a different job.
It was a different job, Paul.
Anyway,
So,
we have to create the road frontage because she is correct that the original subdivision was only approved up to station 4+20. So what they want to do now is then go from that station and create enough road frontage to create that lot. And that's as far as, and the road is going to be built to town standards. Well, it's supposed to be. And I realize they need to prove that. And minus the asphalt, which is what the selectmen gave them a waiver for.
Okay. But understanding that the road has already been built and no engineers have checked it or
Correct.
witnessed the construction. So let's jump back to your list of waiver requests. So section 7B8, the required maps. And you're asking for waivers on D, E, F, G, and
Probably for
So I'm
all
gonna point-
engineering plans.
H and I.
I'm going to point out that, like he said, this waiver request was originally written for a final major application. So these waivers are different between the design review and the major, which is why they went in and renumbered everything in blue ink. So B8 in this section for the design review does not list maps.
Well,
So none of these.
I'm really confused.
Yeah, I'm wicked.
I'm very confused, and I'm going to share my confusion with you guys. So if you look on the
Thanks a lot.
checklist, B8,
So B8,
if you look on the checklist, so I gave you guys the checklist so you can look at this
That's over
stuff.
here.
7B8
Required plans,
shall include the following.
Okay, I see a lot of notations on
survey plat.
the checklist in red. Whose, notes are those?
All, this checklist is all me.
Oh, you, okay.
Yeah, well,
I
in
just want to
the
know.
red, yeah.
Yeah,
And then there are blue checks under that planning board column.
yeah.
That's the office.
Okay.
Okay, that's what you have to have in the office.
Yep, so I confirm everything. So as I look at the checklist, I
That's
go
been
here.
provided, you check that off.
Yep, I check it off, or if there's something wrong or not listed, I put a little note. And then I take all those notes and throw it on a planner review. But since this was so confusing, none of this is on the planner review.
I don't know how you could put it on.
Exactly.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, so you will be providing the required maps all listed in A, which is basically up over a page worth of items listed. If I'm right.
Right.
The
so
survey
that-
plat with all of the subcategories here.
Right, that moves you to the second waiver, but the first waiver that's not listed in this design review checklist.
Show a complete boundary survey showing meets and bounds of the entire contiguous parcel. That, is that what you're talking about?
No, this very first one,
Yeah.
where it just says B8, required maps.
Yeah, but then he says, we will provide A, B, and C.
But I'm saying, I can't check that off on this list, because that doesn't exist. On this
Is
checklist.
it because of the minor versus major? Is that what it is?
It's design review
Design
versus
review.
final.
Design review and,
Why aren't they similar?
I have no idea,
That's like nuts.
but they're different.
Well, we need to fix that.
So that doesn't exist in a design review. That very first one where it's crossed off and it just says B8, required maps, none of that is listed in this design review checklist.
Okay, so
So if it's not listed, then you don't need it.
No, it means that this is wrong and they should fix this waiver to make it so it matches what's required in this phase of a subdivision application.
okay, but let's go with the intent, all right? I guess I want to try and boil down to the intent here so that we can maybe make some progress. You know, and I believe that the intent was that you say that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, that you're going to require the maps listed in this design review checklist, which is A, which is a survey plat that, with all of those sub-requirements, Am I right?
So I provided a survey of the areas going to be subdivided off, which included the first lot that was already taken off, the proposed lot, and enough beyond that to show the location. I didn't, the waiver was for the remainder of the land, which was 200 some acres.
Right.
And my survey plat shows topography, test, I think we did a test bit, right? Yeah.
There is a topo map, yes.
And soils and
Soils,
the soils shows up on
wetlands, we
the,
had the wetlands delineated for that lot.
yep. Okay. So the ones that you say you are not going to provide are
Cross
utilities
section,
plan, fire protection and drainage.
profiles.
What are you even looking at?
I'm going through, I'm cross, and maybe that's what we're getting all screwed up, because on B8, on your review, you have an ABC, and then you have a DEF, but you have no GHI, or L, or whatever that is. Holy crap.
This is wicked. I don't see how anybody can make heads.
Yeah, I really want to make this work. I'm having a real struggle
I
though.
agree, but it's gonna be very difficult.
Should we establish whether we're gonna be doing a major or minor first, so we know what path to walk down?
I think the determination had already been made to do a major
Right,
Determined.
back in August.
back in August.
I didn't determine anything.
Back in August, I think this,
August, well,
And that's why we're here for design review.
Correct.
Okay, so the Browns
Go get design review.
are in agreement with major, is that where we're at?
That's the question. So they're asking the board to waive the fact that they have to submit a major subdivision application, and they're asking to submit a minor. But they came in August with a minor application, and you guys determined it was the wrong application. So now they're asking again for a minor, which I don't know why, because they've already been told that was the wrong application.
that doesn't seem totally correct to me. I don't know.
If that's-
Jessica, can I ask a
Well,
question, Drew?
telling them, it seemed to me that they couldn't even come in because they had the wrong application. We didn't tell them anything. It was just brought up, thrown out
At that August meeting,
at a couple of meetings.
determined that the minor subdivision application was the wrong application.
Who's requesting a minor?
I don't know. I thought that she said that that's what they needed to do.
Drew?
yes, Tom.
What I recall was that after the meeting between Jessica and Jim Sessler, they determined that since there was no frontage on the lot, that it had to be a major subdivision. That was the final straw that made it into a major subdivision classification.
You're
So,
correct.
That is correct.
so if it was a major subdivision at that point, even if the road has been built and they got a waiver from the selectmen, you know, it's still the same position that it's a major subdivision. I mean, it doesn't make it any different. It's just that we have to follow a certain procedure. It means that we use design review rather than design consultation. And,
The major's already been turned in, hasn't it?
No, that's why we're here, for design review. Can't turn it into a major till we do a design review.
So so it was decided that this should be a major subdivision. And what we should be looking at tonight is a design review, just to be clear.
Yes.
Okay, so,
That's how it's noticed.
and that's how it was noticed. So we need to be really talking, we can't, at design review, you just talk about the overall project. You don't talk about waivers to the, do you talk about waivers now? I don't think you do you?
Well, I think we need to give guidance.
Yeah.
Right, you can
We can
talk
give
about the
them
waivers.
guidance, we can give them
But we just
guidance
can't
on
act
the
on
waivers. Nothing is binding, right? Anything is-
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Right, talk about them, give them guidance, and then at the final application is when you actually act upon them and vote on them. So tonight is just, a review, and that's what design review is all about, to review, waivers that have been submitted and other stuff.
Well, that being said, then this should be simple.
Yeah, then all these B8s, those are from the small, right?
Those are from the final application.
Those are from the final.
Because they skipped ahead. In November, they submitted a final application instead of a design review.
Can't we just take a piece of paper and put it right over that and just look at what they want? Skip the numbers, the letters, all that crap. Just look
Is
at
that
what
what we
the.
do? I don't know.
That
This
is,
is the design review. We're just talking about it. When he comes back, he's gonna ask for waivers. So we look at the first one, required maps. So we talk about what the required maps is that he's gonna need when he comes back. That's what we're here for. We're gonna tell him what maps he needs. So when he comes back, he's got all the right maps.
So for example,
He may not, he might not even need a waiver. Come to the next one, complete.
I have to agree with you on this. I think that this is this is a mess, but let's at least get it somewhat organized so maybe the next time we look at this, it's a little bit better.
so I think, what I was going to say in general is we really should just be, they're taking this one lot out of this big lot, right? And they're building a road up along the front of it. They're getting beyond the wetlands so that they can get into a dry part of the lot that they're proposing. So why don't we just focus on this lot that they want to subdivide off and the area of the road, and all these other maps and things for the other couple hundred acres we don't need to see, I wouldn't think.
Well, I think that's what the
waivers are for. They don't want to do all.
But we should give them some good direction on what we're going to expect.
Right, so that's what I'm saying is that what I just said is only focus on the area of the road and that lot that they're subdividing off, and give us the information on those things and forget about that other 200 acres.
Yeah, I think I don't want to speak for the entire board here, but I think that's kind of the general feeling is there's no need to chart out the rest of the 200-acre lot here.
No.
That we're really focused on the 5 acres in the road.
We waive that time and time again.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So I think we need to stop stumbling over the letters and the numbers and all
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
And just look at the
The
waivers.
waivers for what they stand for.
Do you need it? Do you not need it? And, and then when he comes, hopefully when they come back, they'll have the corresponding.
It'll be neat and
numbers.
organized and clean and easy to review.
Can I just point out one more time, on page 2 of 3 of these waivers, way at the top, they're requesting to waive B8 through B16.
So-
Numbers again.
So all of these waivers they listed on here, they're now requesting to waive on page 2.
Well, let's deal with that on page 2. Let's work down page 1,
So I think-
and then we'll say,
But to go through page 1 is gonna be pointless because they're asking to waive all of these things.
That's on page 2.
Like,
Let's
all of
do
it.
page 1.
Just
Let's do
waive
page 1.
entirely.
maybe we won't.
Page 1 in its entirety really is addressing the fact that, from what I can read, is that they really want to just focus on the 5 acres. They don't want to focus on everything else.
Correct.
And I think that we're in consensus that that's probably a very reasonable approach to this. I want to ask Paul about page 2 and your notes at the top of page 2, only because I'm not sure that was truly your intent to waive a whole, basically gut the regulations. Maybe you can clarify what your intent was.
Well, they were trying to get away with not doing the engineering or that expense. So when they did the road, I'm going to tell you right now, I was unaware that they did it. I didn't know that the road was built until 2 weeks ago. So if I had known the road was built, I would have been out there and done an as-built, at least for the location. Now, as far as material and everything, they had Kenny Roberts out there during construction. So if there was an application on file at the time, active, then yes, they were not supposed to do it. But if there was no application on file, then they can do whatever they want on their land, and they can sit there and upgrade any kind of road they want, whether it's a woods road or not.
That's actually not correct.
It is correct.
I know you can't, once you've got an application in, you can't.
So do you want me to
can't work
read-
on, you cannot work on an unapproved.
So we were told that we didn't have the correct application, so that all those applications go away. But we were told that now the correct application is design review for a major. When was that submitted?
Jim Brown knows the date. I don't know the date.
You're gonna have to get with Jim and Ally as far as dates are.
That was submitted in November, but can I please just read the regulations so that you're all clear on what it states?
Yeah.
This is on page 2, section 1, number E, letter E, prohibited before subdivision approval. This is what you can't do before subdivision approval. It starts off with whenever a subdivision of land is proposed. So they proposed a subdivision of land back in November 2019. No land within that proposed subdivision shall be sold, transferred, leased, altered, or cleared. No road construction or building development shall be started. No permit for the erection of buildings shall be issued, and no subdivision plat shall be filed with the Belknap County Registry of Deeds until all required land use permits and approvals shall have been issued, and it goes on. So they have proposed a subdivision back in November 2019, and they have been actively working with the town since November 2019. So whether a specific application was active, submitted, and either approved or denied from the board, they have been actively working with the town. So this regulation isn't specific to a specific application. It's when a subdivision of land is proposed. That's straight from your regulations, page 2.
Excuse me.
Was the road built after November, or was it, I thought somebody said they built it this summer?
2019, November 2019.
Oh, yeah.
So the road, I was told in the summertime that the road was built in the summertime, but according to this Google map, Google Earth, as of October 10th, this road hadn't been built. I'll look at it.
They raise a hand?
So after October 10th of 2020, they constructed the road. So I'm really confused. Did it happen in
It's
summer?
not on their
That was in fall?
property.
I have no idea.
That road is on the 200-acre property. It's not on the 5-acre property that they're proposing to work on, to build a house.
Can you identify yourself? I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
I'm Tom Moore. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm Tom Moore, owner of Moore Farm.
Okay, thank you. So
he
So that road
actually is
was
correct.
upgraded to an existing road that was already there that we used to go up in the woods, and it just goes by their lot. It's not part of their lot, which they're proposing to work on. So none of their lot has been touched, to been worked on.
but this road that was built is road that is intended to be used as frontage in order to be granted this subdivision.
Correct.
And it's part of the project.
And that, yeah, so it is part of the project is really what it comes down to.
Well, I have to change it. That wasn't their fault. Because we were gonna upgrade that anyway, and we made upgrade it properly to the town specs, so we could get it all.
I'm aware of that.
Pictures along the whole way.
What was the
Okay.
point of going to the selectmen for the waiver then?
That was for not having.
Jim Brown, I didn't go in for a waiver, Jim Brown did.
Somebody did.
A lot of people involved in this.
I think he was told by Jessica to get a waiver.
The waiver.
Whatever.
Required by the planning board.
All I know, it's, you know, it's my youngest sisters, all my other sisters are taken care of. Kim's got her place, my other sisters are out west on a farm. And we're trying to give my sister Allison a piece of property. And, you know, I don't know what all this is about.
So can you guys hear me?
I hear a voice, I don't see anyone.
This is Jim Brown. Am I allowed to chime in at some point?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You need to turn on your camera.
Say again?
Jim Brown.
Turn on your camera.
I'm a little tech not savvy, so sorry.
We saw you before, Jim.
I'm not trying to make this difficult.
Yeah.
Legally, we need to see the applicant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jim, so legally, as Jessica's pointing out, we have to actually see you, so.
Hey there.
Okay, there we go.
There you are.
Sorry. So can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I guess if I can just run through like the optics on this project from like Ally and my side of it. So I did kind of think things got reset back in August as far as what we needed to go forward with. And so there was a discussion about a major subdivision application, and we knew that. We were also at the point of that meeting under the understanding that we were going to come back in September. That particular piece changed a few weeks afterwards. We were instructed that in order to come back and see you guys, we needed to go to the zoning board. So we went, okay, and we went forward with that process. So in the middle of September, give or take, we're filling out the application for the zoning board, and at some point towards the bottom, it says something about a notice of decision. So we didn't know if we had that or not. We checked our mail at home, felt like we didn't get it because we couldn't find it. Checked in with Jessica at the town hall, and it hadn't been sent out, but she also mentioned that we didn't need it. But we also got an image in an email of an unsigned one, and then the next day we got an image of a signed one. But at that point, we were a little frustrated. We didn't want to go in front of another group of people with a potentially incomplete application. So we decided, because we didn't get it till like a little after 3 in the afternoon on the deadline date, we just decided to wait till the next month. I mean, we're not going to build this winter, so we ate that one. We chose to wait till potentially going to the zoning board in November. So at that point, when I was talking to my father-in-law, and so if this is a misunderstanding on our end, then so be it. We'll eat whatever the consequences are. We were under the impression that, hey, there's no open applications. We're frustrated, so we were looking to make some forward progress on this. We thought we could do what we did. There are no town standards for private roads. There is that procedural thing at the end of the highway regs saying that if you want a building permit, this is what the condition of the road has to look like. So it's not like we were trying to get away with anything per se, but without asking any questions, we went ahead and followed that. We did initially contact Kenny in the middle of like September. There was no work done in the summertime. So I contacted Kenny in like the middle of September, shortly after that decision. We asked some advice, kind of started rolling forward. At some point, we got word, Ally got word from John Devers, probably just before the, before you guys do the agenda for the zoning board. He contacted Ally and said, hey, kind of, what are you guys doing? I have your application for the zoning board. It's really not the appropriate application. This is really a planning board thing. I'm not going to have you guys go in front of the zoning board, and I will get with Jessica to let her know that. So at that point, it's like 2 days before the deadline to get back in front of you guys for November. So we scramble. We did have a conversation about whether or not to do a design review or a final. the three of us as a group, Paul, Ally, and I decided that it was okay to go forward with the final. Ally turned that in. Jessica went through it with Ally, took it. I guess I wasn't there, but Ally said there was a conversation about that doesn't mean you're going to go in front of the planning board because we don't know if this is a selectman thing or not. And that Sessler had been contacted in regards to that. And then there's an email string bouncing back and forth about when Jim was contacted, and then the application was up at town hall for about 8 days before we got wind that we had turned the wrong thing in. So at that point, I guess we ended up on the agenda for the planning board in November, but with indication that it was going to be basically a reference that it's incomplete, which it was. And we were a little upset with that because if no one knows where this application is going, then why is it ending up on an agenda that we already know is going to get basically rejected? So we kind of felt like at some point in time, that's going to make us look bad, like we're not putting any thought into this.
Drew, I need to leave to go to my other meeting.
Okay, Russ.
See ya.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
So then at that point, we turned the design review in on like 11/9, like she said. And now we're basically just waiting for the selectmen. So we get on the selectmen meeting, I believe it was like January 4th. The paperwork that we turned into them that they kind of went off of with our statements was the road requirements to get a building permit. So they approved that. Again, we're making some assumptions. I was unaware because I'm not a surveyor or a planner or any of that stuff. When Kenny had mentioned that this was a paper road and it's already on a previous plat, that it does exist. And so he mentioned that the road is about 1,100 feet. That's consistent with Kim Moore's subdivision plat map that was recorded. So we'd assumed that we had linear frontage, not acceptable frontage, but linear frontage. And because we also thought that we could bring that road up to that spec because there was no open applications, we also chose to do, we thought maybe we could not get away with, but hey, if we now have adequate lineage and adequate access, then maybe they can downplay this thing to a minor subdivision. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Right.
Can I clarify some stuff, or do you have questions?
No, I just wanted to comment that, I think, your strategy, your thinking process, I think for somebody who's not experienced in the process here makes sense. But unfortunately, you did violate the process and simply creating your own road and then calling it frontage doesn't cut it. And I think Paul probably, had he known you were building a road, he might have advised you that way as well. But Jessica, you were going to make some comments?
When Jim mentioned that, I told him that he didn't need a notice of decision. So what I meant by that was, and it was even in the email I sent him, they didn't need the notice of decision from the planning board to add to their variance application in front of the ZBA. So that's what he's talking about. He didn't need that. And what he was talking about is, he was talking about the application on a class 6 road to obtain a building permit. And that's not, they're not there yet. They're trying, they need to subdivide first.
Can you guys still hear me?
Back up a spell here. Drew asked a question probably about 20 minutes ago, what the plan was for B8 through 16.
Yes.
Can we have an answer to that?
Yeah, we will. John, I just want, while we're on this,
While we're on this subject, they mentioned zoning board. So they came to me and they indicated to me by words that they were going to submit an application to request a variance for the road frontage, to not have to have 150 feet of road frontage. That was the variance request, which is within the parameter, the purview of the zoning board. When we got the application, It was they wanted a variance to not build the road to standards. Well, that's not zoning. Road standards are overseen by the Board of Selectmen. So what they got so we'll jump forward, when they went to the Board of Selectmen, what they asked for was simply a waiver to not pave the road. Build it to Class 5 standards, or to highway standards, whatever we want to use, as a road, subdivision road, and build it to that standard, but not pave it. Now, Jessica and I had conversation with two members of the Board of Selectmen after the meeting. Neither of them were aware that the road was completely built. That did not come out in the Board of Selectmen meeting. They felt that they were just asking a waiver as a precursor to coming to the board, getting their subdivision approval, building their road, everything else. So that was, Jessica and I sat there with two of the selectmen and had this conversation. So, but what they told me they wanted a variance for, and then what they submitted to the application were two very different things, which is the reason why I said, you can't go to the zoning board with this because it's not the zoning board's responsibility. It'd be like someone coming to the planning board and wanted a variance to the zoning ordinance. You guys don't do that. So it's been a constant series of, we're gonna do this, and then something else happens.
Why don't we really try to lay something out tonight, so there's a clear path?
So can I chime
That
in?
all seems reasonable.
I'm sorry, what?
Can I chime in?
Sure.
So, you know, and I don't want to go back and forth 6 times on a finite point, but when we were told that we would not be allowed in front of you guys and we had to go to the zoning board first, we asked Jessica for the specific reason why we were there. So the town of Alton gave us the reason as to why we were there. I didn't make up that reason or try to figure that out. We asked specifically, and we were told that we needed to go in and challenge the term frontage road in the glossary term as it relates to whatever RR is, 470. I'm not sure what it is. I'm sorry, but if there's any question marks about, I am starting to take a little bit of the exception to this as far as, well, they're saying one thing and they're not doing, and they're doing something else. No, that's not what's going on. There is a fair amount of confusion. But that particular application, we put exactly on it what the town of Alton told us to put on it.
We just stop right there. You say town of Alton. Who's the town of Alton?
Say again?
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Jim?
Barely, it's cutting in and out.
Yeah, you got to talk into your microphone over there rather than the screen.
Jim, he's asking you, planning board, selectmen, code enforcement, who told you?
Hang on, Tom. Jim, can you hear me?
Jessica gave us directions on how to fill that application out for the reason.
He's leaving us here. Jim, can you hear me?
He just said it was me that gave
Oh, he did?
the direction
Oh, I guess I was
to
talking.
apply for a variance to not have the 200 feet of frontage, but that's not what was in his application. That was the point that John was just trying to make.
Okay, I think we're just kind of like stirring the pot here. Can we try to start to move in a direction that will give someone some clear direction so there is not any questions in the future? Let's say this is what you got to do. Go away until you have it.
Do it.
Well, and to get back to what you were saying earlier, Scott, the question that I had about the top of page 2, I kind of laughed a little bit when Paul answered the question, but trying to avoid all the engineering. But I think actually that may have been really the objective there, was that since the road is already built, avoiding all of this stuff.
Well, no, that's not totally true. Why can't we just do what we talked about? Put the paper over all the numbers and let's see which of these waivers they need, which they don't. So then they can come back.
Getting any traction here.
And start going to the next page and saying, what does this mean? Let's deal with what we got here. We go through the list. They know what we need. When they come back,
We can revisit these waivers. I thought we pretty much had covered.
we did 2, and then all of a sudden you jumped over to page 2 again.
Okay, so.
Virgil is asked to say something.
Yeah, I know, but Virgil has to wait for public session.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah.
so I thought I had summarized that most everything else on here is referencing that they really want to address the 5 acres rather than the 200 acre parcel.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, we can read each one of these if you'd like, but I think that is the gist of page 1. Bottom of page 1 does talk about subdivision lines, lot lines, existing buildings, and intersecting streets within 200 feet. I think that's going to show up.
200 feet is all their property, I'd be willing to guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the first page basically ties it into the 5 acre lot, resolves the 200 acre lot from any of the work to be done on it.
That's what I'm getting out of it.
So these are all waivers that they
Do we agree
should
with
ask
that?
for.
Yeah,
I
and-
personally do.
Yeah, and I think, the consensus of the board, I believe, and Tom and Bob chime in as well, is that kind of what your take is on that? And do you agree that there's no need to make them survey all 200 acres?
No, I mean, we've always allowed for the small part to be done, just the immediate area if there's a problem.
No.
Bob?
Well, I think he,
Oh, Bob, that's right, Bob had to recuse
Oh, he's sorry,
himself.
he
I'm sorry.
recused
Yeah, that's
himself,
right.
so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So, Bill, your gut on that?
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's a waiver you guys usually do anyway.
Yeah, we usually
do that, so-
It's not out of the ordinary.
Right.
Right.
So the only waiver that I see any question about, and I don't know why, it says driveway site distance.
All right, you jump to page 2.
Well, I thought we were done with one.
I did too. So the next one, I'm not sure, the section 7B8 through section 7B16, and that one, I'm not sure what those specifically are addressing.
Awful lot of
Right.
it.
It's pretty much,
Everything.
it's pretty much everything. If you look at the copy of the checklist I gave you, or back at that checklist,
Yep.
Yeah.
on the left-hand side, I put a red line down the margin.
Yep.
Yes, and all of that red, all of these includes the waivers that they put on page 2, the B8 through 16, includes all of this stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be willing to grant a blanket waiver for all of those.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
I'm just
waives everything.
But
showing you.
it looks like they've provided a lot of it already.
Exactly, that's why I was so confused.
Okay.
What is it exactly do they want to waive, because things have been provided, so that was my confusion.
So I think the guidance would be to be a little more specific about what exactly you're
Yes.
requesting waivers for. And I think that there's also language in there that you should have an explanation, as brief as it may be, as to why you're requesting that waiver.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Actually, there's a good portion of this, that's all, you have most of it.
Yeah.
I mean.
Can I ask a question?
Please do, Tom.
What application are they gonna bring back?
Major.
Okay,
Be a
let's get the major numbers.
Tom, you're too logical.
Well, I'm going back and forth on pages because the pages aren't numbered and I can't figure out which is 1 and 2.
I actually think I may have figured it out.
So can we just go back and clarify what the maps are that they're.
On page 1?
Yes,
I had to say it.
So
Yeah, thanks.
they submitted the survey map, the topo map.
Yeah, you're gonna have to help us out with the letters.
Yeah, I think,
Well, there's another section in this checklist that is, that.
Do we
that
need the
includes
soils?
all of them.
We have the sort, right?
So there's a soils map, there's a survey map, And there's a overall plan that shows the entirety of lot 35 and the abutting lots. So they submitted survey, topo, and soils.
Topo and soils are on the same page. Correct.
Yeah, the chart for the soils is on the survey, but they've delineated the soils on the topo map. This is like the charts on the first map.
Yep.
So I'm not sure exactly what D, E, F, G, H, and I is, because it doesn't match up to my checklist.
Paul, what's F, G, and I, or D, whatever?
Well, I got D, E, and F are utilities plan map, fire protection map, and drainage plan map. I have no idea what H and I are.
Right, G, H, and I.
G, H, and I.
So they want to waive utilities plan map, fire protection map, and drainage plan map.
Could be
Those are
plan
the
and
three.
profiles.
Oh, road profiles and things of that nature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 7B12.
Well, that would designate whether the engineer was needed or not if we waived those. If we said we waived them, then this won't be an engineer. Right? That's how I would understand it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we should talk about.
Well, I mean, I think we need to require road and driveway profiles and cross sections. We need to. You know, that's all part of, they were waived to only put pavement down, not, you know, the whole road construction itself, right?
Correct.
Oh.
Over here.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
We're not public yet,
It's
so.
not public.
Oh, he's in training?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, you may ask a
You
question.
should have a trainee.
And the way I'm looking at the road here, granted, I'm not getting into the legal side of it. But being a large landowner of my own, we've always improved our road to get to certain sections of property. And not only have we improved it, we've gotten grants from the federal government that will give you the money to improve it, gravel it, to do whatever you needed to do to get to back sections of property.
Yep.
Logging purposes and stuff like
The
that.
original intent was that for fire protection back years and years and years ago.
Right.
But you said that they put in a application, and once the application is non-invalid and out of date, to me, it sounds like if they built the roads standards up,
Yeah, well,
a lot of trucks will get in there.
you're kind of mixing up a couple of things here. So it's not just that an application goes in and then is rejected, but it was actively pursuing the subdivision application. So this has been going on for a year and a half now, almost. So it's been actively going on. The other difference is that building an access road out back for, you know, to put out forest fires or to go log your land is not the same as building a road that you're going to be building a house on. Very different requirements.
Right, that you're subdividing off.
Granted, unless you're using granted money, then you have standards you have to follow by.
That may be, but you still have to come before this board and get the approvals. And, yeah, and the road has to be built to our road standards.
Okay,
So,
I'm just trying to learn.
yeah.
Okay, I just want to kick that horse in the other leg. So when they come back, say they get all their stuff in, when they come back, we're automatically going to turn them down because if the road's not engineered? They need to know that now. That's.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that that's going to be, that is a topic of conversation that we need to have before we kind of keep moseying on past this point right here.
Exactly.
So we were, at this point, we were kind of trying to get through these waivers. And then, you know, I think that we need to open up the conversation about how do we deal with a road that's already built. So I don't know where we're at on the waivers. Are we?
So what are we doing with this, on that very first one on page 2? The one that says B8 through B16, what does that mean?
Yeah, we can't, I think that we.
I don't think we can react to that.
Yeah, we can't. It's too broad stroke.
I agree.
So
I don't know if that's like miswritten. I don't know if they meant to put a different number other than B8, maybe something further on in the checklist. I'm not sure what that intention was, because that's basically waiving pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like the entirety.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't know, because he wasn't the one that rewrote these. He wasn't, the blue pen is not from Paul. So, I mean, yes, the road needs to get discussed, and how do you move forward with that?
So.
I mean, if it's built, I mean, what do you do?
So before we move on to the road part, though, I think I'd like to just make a recommendation to the Browns that they maybe lean on Paul a little bit more to try and get this paperwork organized and straight and accurate for your next submission. He's got the experience, so.
I think we also could look at what happened, speaking to what we do about a pre-existing road, up on 28A, what's his name from River Lake? The guy that did the subdivision. Joe Byrne. That was done kind of out of sequence up there. And if you just look in the records, you might have a procedure that the board agreed to once. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
I can speak to that directly.
Yeah.
That was, shortly after I arrived here, gave that developer cease and desist because it built 1,000 feet of road with no observation. He'd come to the planning board, got the subdivision approval, had all the paperwork in order, had not done the pre-con and had not done the other things, and went ahead and built the road. Once it was built, he was ordered to stop, and at that point, he was required to hire an engineer to review all the work that had been done, including bore samples, things of that nature, to make sure that the compaction was done at, all those specifics of road construction. And it was not done correctly. There were sections where it had not been done correctly, so he was required to redo those sections of the road under observation.
So what I was getting at, that is the guideline to how to move forward. I think that there will be consistency with that. Just a thought.
No, it's a good thought. The key point that I just heard was that he had a subdivision approved, which means he had
But just
a
look at
road
the road
design and profiles and drainage
Look at
ditches.
the road for the road. The road will stand on its own merits, shall we say. And then if the road passes muster, then the rest can happen.
I want to read your ordinances first.
Part of one of my department review was the recommendation that an engineer be hired to review the road construction, to do whatever tests are required, and then to do an as-built of the road, which is what you need. Every other developer that comes in here, anybody else doing a subdivision that needs a road has to do this.
So
can I chime in again?
Sure.
So are you guys planning on adopting this road as town property when we're done?
Oh.
You would have to petition the Board of Selectmen.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around some stuff. That's all.
Yeah, well,
The town just does not come and take roads over just because they're there. that.
No,
a
I
group of
understand
people
that, like,
Petition the Board of Selectmen to take it over.
what,
We do have standards.
and I also understand that also. I'm trying to figure out, because I thought in regards to the roads, the roads that will inevitably be class 5, there were standards for that to limit the liability to the town. Now, I understand that this road has to have a standard. I mean, I certainly don't want to drive up a road that's unsafe for me and my family, or God forbid, I need a fire engine. I get all that. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is the form that we sent to the selectmen. I understand that we're talking about waiving asphalt, but those are, it says right on it, procedures for a class 6 and private road
No, it
for a
did
building
not.
permit.
That
Say again?
has nothing to do with what's going on right now.
Okay,
Yeah, that's not the procedure for what you're trying to get right now with the planning board. That's something completely different.
okay,
basically,
so
what-
is it possible to request a lesser road? I mean, what road are we talking, what are the standards that we're talking about?
I think I don't think you want to go there. So basically, what they're going to need to do is some testing. They're going to do, they need to do some boring, see if it is, if they go out, they bore it, and it's up to town standards, then it's up to town standards. If it's not, then they have to rebuild that section.
Okay,
Not yet, please.
And
Follow your ordinances for this town.
well,
Okay.
we'll get to that.
We gotta wait till we'll be in public session eventually, so
the other-
I know it's tough, but please.
So the other side of that coin is the as-built. So they need to have the road cord tested, see if it is what it's supposed to be.
There's no right to do that.
Well,
In your ordinance.
Virgil, please.
I'm trying to give them some, I want, when they come back, I want them to have what they need.
I agree completely.
I think that is, I think that would give us the ability to, move on past the issue that it was pre-built. Just as Scott just told us they did up there. They stop,
So,
find out what's wrong, fix what's wrong, then move on.
right, but you're gonna send an engineer out to evaluate a road for which he has no design to base his evaluation on.
Correct.
Because there's no profiles have been done, no ditch drainage designed, nothing. So what is the engineer really looking at? Core samples to make sure it's the appropriate gravels and maybe a nuclear densometer or something. But, so I'm not sure that we can reach that point until we know what the road was supposed to look like and how it was supposed to be built. Yes, we have all of our standards with our gravels and our lifts. But
That's easy enough. I mean, he's gonna do an as-built, so all he has to do is write down on the paper what they did. So that's nothing. That's copying.
yeah,
You had a legal engineer there.
but the
Your ordinance.
the exception to that, the other road that Scott had brought up was that had been designed. So they knew the road pitched to the left or the right or whatever. So, how's the crown? And, so I think that, in my opinion, I think that, they need to get that engineered and, to get, even if it is somebody who's coming out and saying, all right, this is what's already here, this is how it's gonna work the way it is, fine, draw it up, and then we have the town engineer go out and do all of the appropriate testing and evaluations and take it from there. I also think that we should be sending a formal note to the selectmen for their next meeting as well, making sure that they fully understand that they granted this waiver on a road already built. I think that they need to be made formally aware of that now that we've been made formally aware of it. But I agree, I think the process is going to be that eventually that they're gonna have to test whatever is there. And get it certified.
Is this a road that's gonna be taken over by the town?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, I wasn't like that.
Okay, so we're asking for them to submit an as-built so that the town engineer can
You gotta-
look at the
you gotta-
as-built
you
and
gotta
go and,
What Drew said, you have to back up before that.
yep.
So basically, somebody's got to design the road, and it may be the equivalent of an as-built, at this stage of the game. Or some suggestions on improvements that, to make it function better. But before we send the town engineer out, he needs to have something in front of him
Correct.
that he knows what he is evaluating.
I drove in there today just so I would be familiar what we're all talking about. It looks good, but I don't have the plans.
So. All right, did we have anything?
No.
Well, that's.
And again, I'm just trying to absorb some information.
Moore Farm Road or Lane is a road.
Okay.
As what Lee just said, Moore Farm Lane is a road. Can't this be, never mind, I just answered my own question. Have to have frontage.
Yes.
Kicks your butt every time. You need frontage.
But you can't use frontage on the driveway?
No.
On the existing road?
No.
So is there anything else here in these waivers that they may stumble on, or are those the two that,
I think that we've covered it fairly generally and thoroughly, I think, at this point. The driveway site distance, I'm not familiar enough to know why.
oh, it's a straight road, that's why
I'm suspecting that's not an issue.
I don't think you're gonna have much traffic there.
Yeah.
Oh, traffic.
Dead end
Don't
road.
want to hit any deer.
Driveway. Yeah,
No.
it's a glorified driveway.
Might get a cow.
That's right.
All right, so, has the board got anything else? Can we, go to public on this?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so, Virgil.
We got 646 ordinance. Provided a qualified construction inspection familiar with roadway and drainage infrastructure construction, New Hampshire DOT specifications and industry standards. The inspector shall have a New Hampshire professional engineer license or have a minimum of 3 years' experience inspecting roadways and infrastructure on construction projects. That's out of the town ordinance. I would
May I ask you
expect all
what
you
you-
guys.
Where are you quoting that? What is that you quoted?
That's out of the
regulation?
town ordinance.
What ordinance?
It's on number 7 from 7.
What ordinance?
Like what sort of regulation?
Subdivision regs, site plan, zoning?
Construction observation guidelines. Under the road guidelines.
Yep.
The road guidelines do not trump the subdivision regulations.
Any other roads at all, which are considered class 5 or class 6 highways, shall be considered private. Notwithstanding, the town has no duty to maintain a private road, nor does the town have any legal authority to regulate, restriction, required maintenance, or enforce any other public highway regulations regarding a private road.
What ordinance are you using?
These are right on the town websites and stuff. Right.
You still aren't answering my question.
This is out of Kenny's road book.
Oh, great.
Right on your, it's the town
And
ordinance.
it's not, that does not trump we are subdivision here, we're not talking about that regulation. These have been modified, those have been modified for 20-something years, these have been
That's right, and we
amended
still
over
go by,
and
and
over.
at the selectman's office, we use those, because we did Chamberlain Road. No
You didn't do Chamberlain Road, Chamberlain, nothing's been done with Chamberlain Road since I've been here,
Chamberlain's south up there.
10 years, over 10 years ago,
They went in and added.
over 10 years ago.
They just added more footage there. Reed Road, they just added more footage. No engineering up there.
What are you talking about?
We do it all.
You're talking about, okay, Reed Road.
Consider this private.
Reed Road.
All right, gentlemen, let's keep the volume down just a little bit and respect each other as they talk.
Roads that way.
Class 6 road. We're not talking about Class 6 road. We're talking about a major subdivision that needs frontage.
It's a minor, it's a single lot subdivision.
No, it can't be because it needs frontage on a class 5, on a road built to town highway standards.
And that's maybe what
And that's
we're
the
gonna fix.
requirement. It's not a class 6 road.
Those are the regulations that are in place right now.
These are regulations that are off our website that go to all roads and all of it.
Right,
But
but,
people pick and choose what you wanna use.
well, we don't.
Same as you use one, you hand out these right here for when you come in and get an application, and then you go, no, we're going to the hard road travel. As soon as you get one figured out, you go to a different book.
So,
And that's just what's been happening, Joe.
okay, so
So are you accusing us of, violation of ethics? Are you accusing us of making crimes? Are you
Follow the
accusing
town
us of
ordinance.
not following
That's
our
what
own
I'm telling you.
regulations?
Follow the town ordinances that are good for everybody.
gentlemen,
What they were.
I'm done, I do know.
gentlemen, please, please. So, you've made your point, Virgil.
Follow.
I think that, we can contact Attorney Sessler for his interpretation of this, if you feel that it needs to be escalated to that level.
One thing I have said for a long, long time is the town, in rebuilding their roads, flies by the seat of their pants, and everybody else has to tote the mark, which is not right. Those roads that the town have should be rebuilt properly. That's been my standing since I've been on this board, and I'll still stand by
You allow
that.
Kenny to do engineer a road, at the town road, engineer a town road that holds thousands of cars a day in the summer. And yet you don't expect him to look at this road? That's a private driveway?
It doesn't meet the definition of driveway because they want to use the frontage to break off a lot. So those are the way the regulations are written, and that's all we can do is follow our own regulations.
Then follow them all.
So I said our regulations, so not the road department. The road department, maybe they need to align theirs with ours.
Well, I don't know, I think the simplest thing to do is to do what works, and that's as-built, the design, and have it tested to see if it's there.
Absolutely.
And then when they come in here, we've got something we can hang our hat on.
Yep.
All we have right now is an argument, and I don't know which one of you.
I'm the one that suggested that. Read my, department head.
No, I know, I did.
That's exactly what I said.
Is there any other public input?
Can,
Yes.
public input for reading.
I don't see why the
Okay.
towns have to suffer because the town doesn't have the stuff together.
Tom, I'm sorry. That was Tom Moore?
Yes,
I'm sorry, you broke up in part of that.
it's okay. I don't want to waste any more time.
Have we given them the direction that they need? I'm not 100% convinced that they have the direction they need.
Let's ask Paul. Paul, what do you think? If we,
Well, I think it should come from us, what they need.
I'm gonna go out and do an as-built. I'm gonna show you the horizontal location and the vertical location of what's there now. I don't believe a design is gonna be any different. So there's your plan and profile. It's gonna be what's there. Now you're gonna have to do your testing to make sure you have the right material. If you have the right width. You have the right slopes. That'll be on the plan. If it doesn't meet what your cross-section does, then that's gonna have to be addressed.
Okay. And Mr. Brown, do you understand the process of getting the engineering done and inspected that I think he's gotta come to you and,
So he's just gonna submit the as-built, not a design plan, or not a design road plan.
I think for the sake of
Where are
this
we at?
step, we'll do that and then we'll have to have an engineer go out and do the coring and
So, Mr.
verify
Chair.
that.
Okay,
So
so
these
he's gonna,
ordinances are no good.
okay, so he's
Virgil,
gonna submit an
hang on.
as-built,
So,
he's gonna submit an as-built, and then I will give it to the town engineer to review, and then he can go out and review the as-built and do his core inspections.
And I think, listen to your engineers, Sometimes they get you in trouble, but.
We are still in public,
And I've got my hand.
and Jessica was talking, so. All right, so Virgil, I'm sorry.
These are the planning board's regs, are they not?
What is it? I don't know what I'm looking at.
Read it from here, Virgil. I'm not searching it.
Observation guidelines from the planning board.
Right.
We did. It says right in here, Kenny can look at the road.
No, it doesn't.
3 to 5 years experience with infrastructure.
It requires an appointed
No, it
engineer.
does not say that.
I said, I think there was an
It's
or in there.
subdivision regulations, which trumps all of the other regulations, because you use this, right, and that's the problem, because our regulations are inconsistent.
So these
So you
ordinances
use-
that we vote
you
on.
use
Hang on. Give her the respect of listening to her speak,
You
please.
use the greater restriction when it comes to regulations. So if there's a regulation that is stricter than what you're looking at, then you go with the stricter regulation.
Why would
And
these
this,
ordinances?
and this regulation requires the town engineer, and that's what we do. That's why we have a contract with one.
Then why would we?
That
go
I
through
don't
this book?
understand.
And that comes into play after the applicant has been through the planning board process, has a road plan, has everything agreed. Construction observation happens after, not if the road's built before and, oh, let's just say so-and-so said it was
It
okay.
happens during.
All right,
The construction of the road.
all right,
What I'm saying is the road is approved, you have a plan in front of you.
let's reel this in, guys. Let's reel this in.
Follow the rules.
When the road's approved.
And it's a conflict of interest that Kenny looked at it anyways, as the highway.
All right, guys, come on. Virgil, John,
He's wrong.
let's take a breath. Let's take a breath here.
But if we have ordinances,
Let's take a breath, please, Virgil.
this is why.
Virgil, please. So the direction, I believe, has been granted to, or given here that we're gonna go ahead and do as-bills, we're gonna do some testing.
Yep.
And we'll proceed with that. I think we have covered the waivers that have been asked for, and we're
Yep.
not gonna grant a blanket on that.
Right, and I think with the final application, just, can you go through this waiver list and clarify everything? And jot a little note as to the reason why you're requesting the waiver, and that will help clear up, these inconsistencies.
If I'm gonna submit a major subdivision application, and that's what you're gonna tell me now, because we're gone through design review, you're gonna have a whole new application. It's gonna have a whole new set of waivers, because I'm gonna do an as-built of what's there now, which will produce a plan and profile, which is required by your major subdivision application. And if there's no difference that needs to be done to the road, then there's your plan and profile. The town engineer doesn't get involved until after things are approved and the road is built. My as-built just gonna show you.
No, time out, Paul. The town engineer gets involved while the road is being built.
Excuse me, the town
Okay.
engineer gets to be involved. When you create the set of plans, they deliver them to Jessica, Jessica gives them to the engineer that's gonna do it. They are reviewed for correctness and whatever else may be happening. Then, if there are issues that happen at that point, they're corrected, they go back to him. He goes, yep, this meets the intent, and then it goes to the planning board, say that this meets the specification, this meets what we wanna do. Then when the road comes to the construction, you grab out the land, you have them come out, make sure you have no organic material underneath the road. You do your base coat or lift will bring it up to subgrade. And then nowadays we can use, I believe it's 3044, which is ledge packed gravel for the full 18 inches of that. But it has to be compacted. It can't all go in an 18-inch whack because you can't get proper compaction. And I don't know how, my road, I got 105% compaction on places, and I don't know how that happens. Because 100% I think should be it.
Moisture, but, okay. So, at this point, Paul, do you feel that you have adequate direction to help the Browns get through this next step?
Yep. As long as we're gonna apply for the major subdivision application next.
Yes.
Yes, final
Yes.
application, yes.
Correct. So, all right, so any more public input, I dare ask? Close the public
We need to
session.
Continue this?
Well, I know what, you
You don't have anybody? No hands.
Okay,
No hands.
so closing the public session, I don't believe that there's a need to continue at this point.
Okay,
Nope, they just submit the final application and go from there.
Okay, all right. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sorry that it was so lively.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item on our agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'm back.
I'm sorry. Yes, so at this point, welcoming back Bob Regan and Virgil and Bill, if you don't mind stepping back as non-alternate.
Give me the good one. Oh,
Yeah, I gave you the good one. Yeah, yeah. All right, so I've lost my agenda.
Okay, he's all set. Museum is gone. Just give me a second to get everything back in my file.
Everybody okay? Brad Jones, Sanpete.
Good?
He's still there.
Good? All right, so the next case, P 21-02, completeness review of application public hearing, Bradford Jones, Jones and Beach, agent for George and Carol Stevens. So regarding map 41, lots 3132, 14 and 20 Sandpeep Lane. So lot line adjustment.
First of all, Brad, I'd like to say sorry to hear about your dad.
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I didn't hear, sorry.
Yeah.
So Brad, we have you here live and in color.
Yes.
And who else do we have? So, is that Rob Broughton?
Broughton, yep, I'm here, present.
Okay. So Rob Broughton, you are, part of the trust?
Yes.
Okay, trustee, all right.
I see someone else on there.
George Stevens here.
Yeah, Stevens Jr.
Yes, can you hear me?
we can barely hear you.
Barely.
And can't see you.
Yeah, can't see you. Okay, so.
George Stevens.
Is it George Stevens? Is that who's on the phone?
Ask him to play the trumpet.
Okay.
Mr. Stevens, are you there?
Mr. Stevens, can you hear us?
Turn your volume up.
Are you calling in on your phone or are you attending through the Zoom on your computer?
I have a closed laptop at the moment. I work.
Do you have a way to turn your video on?
No. Mr. Stevens, can you turn the video on your laptop?
No, I have no video.
Okay. So he's got agents representing him.
Yeah.
So he really can't participate, but he can listen in.
Well, I would assume so. I mean, he does have an agent letter, so
Yeah.
Brad can represent him. I guess.
Brad Jones can represent me.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank
so yeah, and that's how this is presented, that he's your agent as well. So we'll proceed based on that. All right, so this was not a terribly complicated one, as I recall.
The only thing that wasn't submitted was just the sample beads. That seems to be a
That's like a
thing
no-brainer.
that So other than that, I did not have any issues with anything.
I have a question. I don't understand it, and I read a map real good.
Well, I have some nice colored drawings, so hopefully I can kind of go through it with you and
Thank you, Brad.
explain that, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
you've got a couple things.
Jessica, I did send an email to you. It was, it came in kind of late, but I did send those sample deeds to you, but, so you have.
Oh, super.
Yep, so you
Thank
just,
you.
but I just sent them out, yep.
So, I mean, this is just shimmying the lot line over.
Just doing the orange line?
Yeah.
So that little, almost like pie-shaped piece, that's what?
Yeah, maybe Brad can help explain
Which is
that.
the
'cause
old line and which is the new?
And it's a lot line.
Can I do a screen share? Is that, do I need to hit the green button?
Yes, you should be all set to do that.
We need to.
Are you qualified?
I don't know, I can try it.
Yes,
Yeah, completeness review.
Brad,
Oh, okay.
Brad, they're gonna do completeness first.
Oh, got it,
Yeah, I
yep.
apologize, Brad. You do need to do the completeness review first.
Understood.
Now I understand.
You'll find that everything is complete.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to accept the application as complete.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Roger, aye.
Scott Williams, aye.
Virgil? Aye. Drew, aye.
Tom Hoops, aye.
Bob Reagan, aye.
Any
Everybody.
waivers? Are there any waivers?
I don't think there was any.
Okay, great. Then that's not an issue to talk about.
Yeah.
No, there were no waivers, no concerns or comments from department heads.
Okay. Now Brad can go.
He has a better map than I did. Okay, Brad?
All right, Brad,
All right.
the show's yours.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm Brad Jones, and I'm here tonight to explain the lot line adjustment. And there's two different lots. They're both lakefront lots, and they're off of Sandpeep Road in Alton. And Sandpeep Road is a kind of a back road that is a sawmill road. Is a road that kind of connects us back to the lake. So if you look at this plan that I've got set up now, the green line is currently George Stevens' larger lot, which is a 1.8 acre lot. And you can see the configuration of it now. He's got 106 feet of lake frontage back here. And the green line shows the rest of the lot. We recently did a lot line adjustment for him and increased the size of his property back in 2019. So he currently has 1.8 acres. It goes back down in here. Some of this area in here is wetlands. And then it goes back to Sandpeep Road, back across, back to the lake. And Robert Broughton has a lot next door, and his lot's in orange, and he's got 175 feet of frontage over here.
Yeah.
And you can see it kind of pork chops over here, a little 18-foot strip back around, back over here, and kind of squares off and you know, abuts Sandpeep Road. So that's the existing layout as it exists today. Let me see if I can get this other plan. That's where it's going to get tricky. All right, did that come in? You can see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you can see there's not much difference. The green line, once again, is George Stevens' lot, and that goes back around. And this small section in here is where the lot line adjustment is going to be made. And what it's going to do is give this little square back to Robert's lot and increase the size of his lot. And the reason that we need a little bit more area in that lot he's applied for a shoreline permit to reconstruct the house, and he needs a little more area of his lot. So that's the rationale. It is kind of a wetland piece in here, but it's more for area for that permit. He is going to construct a new home, construct a new state-of-the-art septic system, and that's going to have a treatment system, pre-treatment system. So it'll kind of clean up what's there now, be a much better, more environmentally friendly system, you know, up against the lake like that. So we have been in front of the ZBA. Obviously, these lots don't have the 150 feet of frontage that's required for a new subdivision. So we did get granted variance for that. And also the size of this lot is below 30,000 square feet. So we did get a variance for that, and that's been approved by the zoning board back in July 7th. So that kind of, in a nutshell, is what we want to do.
It's fine with me.
Simple enough.
Mr. Chairman, one thing that we're gonna need to make sure in the deeds is Sandpeak services other roads down there, so we gotta make sure the proper easements are there for the houses further on in.
Yeah, there's a note 14 on the drawing that talks about subject lots are possibly subject to a 10-foot wide right-of-way.
It needs to be a little bit better than possibly.
Yeah.
Brad, how many houses does Sandpeak service past this property?
Two houses, yep.
Two? Okay.
Yep.
George probably answered that.
And you can see I added two notes on.
They've gotta have access to their property.
Yeah, it has to be clearly stated that clearly, yeah, that remains that private.
And you should probably do a little fact checking in the Clough report on the right of way of Sandpeak, because I think that the Clough report encompassed private roads as well. Oh, did I use that word?
I put a quarter in the jar.
Well,
yeah, I know, really.
It looks as though originally that right of way was on that existing lot.
Yes, but
all you've done is add land to that existing lot.
Just gotta make sure it's there.
Yeah, well, and if it was there before, it's still there.
Yeah, but the wording says it's possibly there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you should have it clearly.
Yeah, we can look at that. I mean, it is, we did find record of that right away, so.
Yeah. Did you use a Clough report, Brad?
Dave Collier is our licensed surveyor, so I assume.
Yeah.
I let him handle that, yep.
Yeah, we know Dave.
And so you know it's right then, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But we did add a couple of notes, this is based on the review. Well, you're gonna see that this is different than your plan right now. It's got note 2021, and those were the conditional notes that Jessica had on her review. So we did that, add those in, but obviously if there's anything else we need to adjust, we can make any correction, yeah.
Yep, I did actually talk to Dave Collier earlier.
Great.
So he did let me know that he was adding those on there.
Yep.
All right, board have anything else on this? Is this where we go to public?
Yes, we don't have anything else to discuss? Yes.
Yeah, so is there any public comment on this out there? You've got nothing? All right. Public session's closed. So, you want to entertain something from the board?
Mr. Chairman, on case P21-02, I move to approve the lot line adjustment as presented, and I don't see any, what do I say, the
conditions precedent?
Thank you. But I'm sure they're,
Yeah, there are.
First page.
Yeah, so,
including the conditions precedent.
yeah, it just included regular standard planning board notes.
Yeah.
Just to set the bounds.
Yep.
Or
And
submit.
we have 12 months to set the bounds, is that?
Yeah, this,
1 year.
lot line adjustments, they don't have like that,
Clock.
yeah.
Yeah, we have set monuments.
1 year date, but, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, so.
No problem.
Conditions precedent and then subsequent conditions.
Yep, and just to take out that word possibly and do some research on that.
Yeah, so the subsequent conditions would be, relative to that right of way with,
Correct.
So that was your motion?
Yes.
I'll
Everybody
second
get
that. Tom Hoops will
What's that, Tom?
second it.
Tom seconds.
Tom seconded, all right. All right, so full round table with a vote.
Roger, aye.
Scott Williams, aye.
Drew Carter, aye.
Tom Hoops, aye.
Bob Reagan, aye.
All right. There we go.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Yep.
Thank you.
Take care, Brad.
Yep. Have a good night. Yep.
See you, George.
Yep. Bye now.
That's done. All right, moving on to old business. So again, reminder, Tom Hoops and Scott Williams are up for reelection.
Go see Lisa tomorrow.
Yep.
I have my application made out, but I can't turn it in yet.
New business, update from the master plan committee. I think we have received or Board of Selectmen.
Okay. Our last meeting, we did a couple of things. One was we started a review process of the existing vision section of the 2005 plan. And we're going to continue that at the next meeting, which is going to be on the 27th, at which time members of the committee are going to submit lists of items that we think we might suggest be touched upon as we go through the process of updating the plan. The RFP for the consultant is out, and the schedule is it was to be published mid-January, and we've done that. Interpretation, clarification, or correction no later than February 1st. Responses to questions no later than February 8th. That's to go back to the submitters. RFP submission deadline February 15th. And submission interviews in early March. And we'll make our selection in that time period. So we're moving forward. We think we're making pretty good progress. And that part's going quite well. Also, last week, a petition was submitted to the Board of Selectmen for a warrant article requesting that the master plan from 2005 be extended for another 10 years, and that we not update the current plan, with the objective being to, let me get the wording correct, preserve the rural character, natural beauty, and unique quality that Alton citizens cherish. Our intention is not to change the character of the town, but rather be in position to accommodate changes that we have no control over, and to, take a long view at what the town needs to do to meet those objectives. It's not our intention to change the character of the town in any way, but rather preserve it. Tom, would you like to add anything to that?
I think you said it very well. We're not conniving to for the town. As a matter of fact, we've got some new blood, 3 new members who joined the master plan committee. And they're going to help us. And I think once we get going, trying to get a lot of public involvement is the best way to get this going.
And the one recommendation that I'm going to make at the deliberative session with regard to this deliberative session article is that the people that have concerns, that they indeed participate in the process.
Perfect.
That's the master plan update.
All right. Any
So,
questions?
so as far as anything is concerned, this is a petition to create a warrant article. So it creates a
It's
warrant article.
on to the
and
Board
then
of
they-
Selectmen. I don't know what their position is on it.
Can I chime in?
We listen to you a lot, so sure.
Yeah, please.
So in regards to this warrant article, the selectmen have actually received an opinion of town council. And so he's reviewed this. And this is actually in violation of 675-6 RSA, which is in fact the planning board is the one that adopts the master plan. So this warrant article is saying it's wanting to direct the voters to direct the planning board. So this is not, basically an illegal.
What they probably can do is try to remove the funding for it, not.
But yeah, it's already been voted in, that 25,000, the $25,000.
That was just for, these guys would be looking for more money.
Right, yeah.
So that's already been done. You can't spend it on anything else. So it's gonna go nowhere. I believe they're gonna put a little blurb at the bottom of this.
Yes.
Stating that, and that if it does get voted in, it's not gonna go anywhere.
I don't want to lose the input, however. I think
Get them in.
the statement that's being made here is going to be important as we go forward with the master plan.
I agree with that. I agree with that statement, Bob.
Put them on the subcommittees.
Yep.
So whoever initiated this petition, are they aware that this?
I'm not sure. It's gonna go on it's gonna go in as a warrant article.
Right, it has to go into the ballot.
So
Right.
there's
We're not
no,
putting rotation on it.
there's no option.
It's gonna be null and void.
Yeah, petitions you cannot disregard.
Well, not right, because it's a petition article, it has to go to vote. There'll be a note on it that it'll be null and void because it can't change.
It's not legally acceptable,
It's not
basically.
legally, you can't change what's already there.
Right.
It's the planning board that does it, not the
But at
vote.
the same time, we should give them written invitations to
Master plan's already
participate.
been voted in.
It's just-
I don't know if everyone heard Tom, but that's a good suggestion.
We should give them written invitations to participate in the subcommittees.
Gee, good luck with that.
What's going
Well,
on?
actually,
I believe you have the list of names
Yeah,
and
they already
addresses.
signed up.
They're on the petition, I think.
I still haven't been able to open my box, so.
Can the voters give the planning board
Alright.
direction?
No,
No.
Okay.
no. That's the illegal part of it.
They can vote you out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're elected.
That's
Yeah.
their say, is they can vote you in or out. Yeah.
I think that was it.
All right, approval of minutes?
Yep, so, right before the meeting, I was at the tail end of reviewing, the October minutes. I didn't have time to get to the end of that. We are 3/4 of the way through November, and December minutes are still due as well. So, between Amelia and I, I'm gonna help her try to catch up on minutes, so that
When was the
way,
last minutes we had?
September. Yeah, unfortunately.
Probably ought to do that because the feeble minds might not remember.
This is not one of my proudest moments, I will admit. We're pretty behind on minutes, but we will get you guys up to date at the next meeting.
Right. All right, so, next item, correspondence for the board's review. Now, this case P20-24 is under correspondence.
It's for correspondence for action. So it doesn't get a special heading up over here because there's no like completeness review, like accepted as complete and things like that. It doesn't go under a regular heading. Is that confusing for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It looked pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so for now on, I will put it at the beginning, like, you know, in line with all the other ones, and give it a regular heading, in a regular case, just like the other applications, if that's less confusing for you.
So is this,
So it's just a regular voluntary, it's just a voluntary lot merger.
It's like it was one lot at one point, and they
Well,
separated.
does this
and
have
now they just
anything
wanna
to do
put it
with
back.
all the lots that were separated because of the back 30 years ago, they merged a bunch? If I own this lot and the one next to it, the towns just merged them together.
No, that's an involuntary lot merger. This is a voluntary lot merger.
Right, but I just was wondering if this was any part of it.
Yeah, it's not that I'm aware of. So we may have,
so historically it was, I mean, must have been lot 7 once upon a time, then it became lot 7-1 and 7-2.
Right.
And now they want to go back to being lot 7?
yeah, it probably will end up being 7-1, but that's up to assessing to decide what number it gets. So we might have Mrs. Boucher on the line if you guys have any questions.
I think we do.
Yep, she's there. She's muted.
Oh. All right, can you hear us?
Yes. We can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So the history on this lot, these lots, excuse me, did you originally have a single lot and subdivide, or did you just buy 2 lots, or how did this come about to be 7-1 and 7-2?
We have no idea. We bought the 2 parcels from a neighbor,
Okay.
and we're looking for a building permit for the lot. The engineer designed the septic, designed the build out of the lot, and DES for the septic said you need to merge the 2 lots together for the purposes of the septic system. So
Makes sense.
that's why we're here.
All right.
Yeah, their deed shows it as tract 1 and tract 2, so it's one deed for the whole property. Yes.
Both lots are
Yeah.
listed on one deed.
Yep.
Okay, all right, great.
I have no problem.
Thank you.
Well, any other comments from the board?
No.
I didn't have any issues. They've submitted everything.
Do we need to vote on this?
Yes.
No, we don't. Do we have to go public?
Yeah, yes, yeah, sure you do.
You could.
I'm independent, I'm not public.
So, does the board have any thoughts or comments from the rest of the board here? No? No? And I guess we should officially request if there's any public comment,
No.
and no hands being raised. All right, so closing public.
Mr. Chairman, case P20-24, I'll move to approve the lot merger, map 60, lots 7-1 and 7-2.
Second.
I'll second.
There's no condition.
Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, and that was the second?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, let's get.
Roger, aye.
Scott, aye.
Virgil.
Yeah, aye.
Drew, aye.
Tom Hoops, aye.
Bob Regan, aye.
There you go. That was a tough one.
You're done.
So-
It was the easiest one all night.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Save
Have
the
a good
best for
night.
last.
Have a good night.
Hope you had a fun evening.
Oh, we enjoyed it all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice one.
Thank you. You too. Next correspondences, we have, item B, application dated 12/1/20 from Paul Zugo, stating his interest in becoming a citizen member for the Alternative Housing Committee.
he has done, I know he's done a ton of research on this stuff, so.
Yep.
I think we'd be
Yeah.
fools to pass him by.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think maybe beginning of February, mid-February, we're gonna start up.
If that's what we're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't need to vote on him though, do we? I mean, it's,
I think it's just a cursory.
Well, yeah.
I would welcome his expertise.
you saying we should vote, or what are you saying? Guide me here.
I think you should vote on it, because you guys have voted on CIP,
Let's put it this way, it won't hurt to vote on it.
It won't hurt to vote on it, so,
I'll make a
motion and
motion,
second.
we recommend Paul.
All right.
Second.
Seconded from Scott. All those in favor?
Roger, I.
Scott, aye.
Drew, aye.
Tom Hoops, aye.
Bob Regan, aye.
Fantastic, thank you guys, and that's that. Unanimous. Chairman to sign, so I'll do that before I walk out of here.
Yep.
Correspondence for the board's information, amended voluntary lot merger for Mark and Megan Farrell, Evans
Yes.
Road.
So I just wanted you guys to be aware that, when the Farrells came in to merge all those lots on Evans Hill, we neglected to talk about the road itself. So with assessing, we figured out exactly.
Who's gonna own the road?
Right, because that didn't get included in it. So that needed to get included in.
The assessor just wants to tax him.
So this just got amended, so just letting you know that occurred,
Okay,
and everything's all taken care of and everyone's all squared away now.
so they basically own from
That whole
the
entire.
whole road,
Including the road.
who owns the cistern?
That was the question. I was gonna say, we had a question when we left that other meeting, and I.
Did, yeah, and.
That's what it was.
Clarified. So I don't have the file with me, but we did that did get clarified.
Yeah, because I know let's put it this way, the fire department never had money in their budget to maintain these cisterns that were abstractly put in.
But they've been going on cutting this year. They've been cutting around all over.
Good, good.
Oh, the fire
Sure,
department?
that one.
Now, what happens to the bond money from the other section? Does that go to them, to Evans Road?
So that was discussed at the meeting the first time, and that remaining money that was put aside for Evans Hill is gonna get put towards Ridge Road so that they can come with their final road approval, get the as-built done, and get all that stuff. And that was talked with, town council, that's already been clarified.
What, they're using the rest of that bond money, but to get Ridge Road so they can finish?
Yep. We've
That's not what
already
we
talked
voted
about
on.
this. Yes.
No, it is not. We voted on paving that road and fixing it and paving it, not to use the money for everything else. What was supposed to be left over from paving and everything was supposed to go up to Evans. That's the way we voted on
That's
it.
not what you guys voted on at that meeting when the Farrells came in for this. No, things didn't change. When the Farrells came in with this voluntary lot merger, that's what we discussed at that meeting.
No, we discussed that what was left in the bond goes up to Evans Hill, not down the other
No,
road.
Jim said no, so that was the answer. Jim, there's no reason why those Farrells should get $6,000 for purchasing property. And that was discussed. It'd be nice, but that didn't happen.
Well, I'm sure all of that's documented.
It is all documented,
No.
we're good to go.
Yes. All right, so the next item was a letter to the town of Barnstead, so just letting them know about that Hollywood
Yep,
Beach
so,
Road.
just to follow up with the question that Scott had, and he said, hey, I think we're supposed to notify the town.
Yeah.
And you're right, because and actually Randy Tatro pointed that out to me as well, and he gave me the RSA that shows about municipalities having to, yes, so thank you for clarifying that. So I'm just letting you know that letter did get sent, and I did not receive anything back from them, so they have not
That's a
responded.
done deal.
So that's that.
All right. Correspondence for board's information, we did that, letter to town of Barnstead. Construction services report, North Point Engineering.
Yep.
For the-
So that's just, there's a couple updated, report from Kevin. I put together a memo that you guys can read at your leisure. That's just your information, kind of updates everything. Scott's working with DOT, with TES. And I just wanted to let you know that I know Kevin Leonard from North Point gets a bad rap sometimes. And I just want to clarify that he was very thorough. And, you know, he did a good job. He did what he's supposed to do. He's very particular. And, you know, I think that it just needs to be noted that, you know, he worked hard at this.
The bill's fine, but did I see an estimate that came in from him to review the road for $10,000?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look back and see
Please
exactly
do.
what it is.
Because he's gonna get another bad rap if that's the case. Well, like,
All right, well, that's, yeah, that's,
$50, $60.
that's not at this table.
I'll discuss that with you at a later point.
All right, so I think we have covered everything except for me signing some paperwork, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Roger, aye.
Scott, aye.
Virgil. All right, Drew Carter, aye.
Tom Hoops, aye.
Bob Regan, aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Good night for
Those guys got it easy. They could just
I
do
don't
like a
drink.
cell phone thing there, like.
Not all.
Connection with the beer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you,
Well,
Tom.
thank you and Amelia.
So this has already gone through the selectmen. They did one of those roads. There were restrictions at way beginning when they received subdivision approval, that there were restrictions on being able to obtain building permits. So they've gone through the whole process. Subdivision approval was given many eons ago. They finally have gone through the selectmen to be able to build on a Class 5 road. They received approval for that. So this is just basically, you are signing over here that